Erica here, and I'm here with my July book haul. I bought quite a few books this month, so I'm going to try to go through these really quickly. So first, I have a couple of standalone graphic novels to show you. I bought Something New by Litsy. Previously read Lucy Nisley's graphic memoir, Relish, which is about her growing up and kind of being immersed in food culture through her parents who worked on farms and in restaurants, and I am very interested in this, which is her new release, and the subtitle is Tales from a Makeshift Bride. So for those of you who don't already know, I am getting married in a little under the 2 months, so I'm really hoping to read this soon, and hopefully it will add some comic relief to my current life situation. The next one I have is Everything is Teeth by Evie Wyld. This is, again, a graphic memoir. This is about Evie Wyld's kind of obsession with sharks, I believe. I'm really excited about this. I've heard nothing but wonderful things. The art is absolutely gorgeous in its own way, and I can't wait to dive into this. It's quite short, so I'm sure I will get to it soon. Next, I have an odd little book. I actually have a couple of odd little books in this haul, but this is Little Labors by Rivka Galchen. I previously read her collection, American Innovations, which is a short story collection. This is an odd little book that I just, as soon as I had it in my hands, I had to pick it up. Because it's like bright orange and kind of cool looking. And every page, they're like these little blips, and they're all about different things. So this one, just the title is And Movies. And it starts with like children's books, and it's a little blip about children's books, and I think they connect and tie into each other. A little bit of nonfiction, a little bit of, I don't know. I'm really excited to sit down and read this. I'm sure I can read it in a sitting, and I think it's going to be odd and enlightening, hopefully. Next, I bought a play. This is Fences by August Wilson, and I recently read August Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom for Booktubeathon. Really enjoyed it. I had actually originally been looking for Fences when I found Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which I think I hauled during my birthday haul or in May, I don't know, somewhere around there. But August Wilson is a Pulitzer Prize winning playwright. This play actually won him his first Pulitzer, and from what I understand, it's about an adult black man who has grown up in the U.S. and has always been told that it's wrong to be proud to be a black man or to take pride in who you are as a black man. And this play takes place during the early 1950s, where kind of opinions about race are starting to shift again, and he has to face the fact that the country is changing, and what does that mean for him, and for him as a black man, how should he now feel about being black in America. So I believe it's going to be a lot about how our culture informs our own identities, and I'm really, really looking forward to reading this. Next, about a book that I was not going to buy in the United States. I was going to order it off Book Depository because the United States covers are really terrible. But it got to a point where I had to have it in my hands right now, and for some reason I just kept putting off ordering it. And I saw it in the bookstore, and I was like, I need it right now. I cannot wait the 3 to 4 weeks for a Book Depository order to get here. So I bought The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I've already read this. I loved it. I'll talk about it more either in a review or at least in my July wrap-up. But I'm very glad to have it. And I don't even hate this cover anymore, because if you've read it, you know that this little spaceship here is like their little patchwork spaceship that they have. So now I'm kind of fond of this cover now, even though I still think the UK covers are much better. I bought a book I've already read, and that is One of Ours by Willa Cather. I am not sure. I think I might have originally read this in an ebook form or something, but I didn't own a physical copy. I really love Willa Cather. This story, from what I remember, is the story of a young man named Claude Wheeler, and it kind of bounces back in time from him being a soldier in the First World War and being overseas, and then him coming home after the war and having to deal with how he has changed and the people around him have changed and his country changed. And it's really beautiful. I'm not usually into war stories, but I really enjoyed this. So highly recommend this, and I'm glad to have a copy. Then I got like a pristine condition used copy of The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa, who is a Portuguese writer, I believe. Yes. And I am not sure if this was translated, but I should find out. Yes, it was. Who was it translated by? It's translated by Margaret Joel Costa from Portuguese. And this is supposed to be kind of a modern classic literary masterpiece. And from what I understand, it's all about a man who is kind of living his day-to-day life and feels like, you know, the daily drudgery is really starting to weigh on him, and the monotony of his life is really starting to weigh on him. And then one day he wonders what would happen if he kind of cut his ties with his current life and started over, or would that just lead to him being, and would that just end up with him being in another situation where he's living this boring, monotonous life. So I'm really interested to get into it. It sounds like it's going to be really heavy on character development, which I love. So we'll see how it goes. Then I was sent a copy for review, and that is Life Story, The Education of American Journalists by Gerald Moore. I actually know Gerald Moore personally. We have ties through my current job. He's awesome. And he was a journalist for Life magazine in the 60s and 70s, I believe. And this kind of tells his story of how he got there and what it was like. This picture on the cover was actually the cover of Life magazine at one point, and that is him during the Detroit riots. So I'm really interested to read this. I'm feeling the pressure of having to read a book written by somebody that I know and review it, because I did tell him I would review it, but I'm hoping that it's excellent. A couple more used books I picked up. I got a copy of The Passion by Jeanette Winterson for $2. I'm not so sure what this one is about. Oh yes, this I believe is... Yes, this is historical fiction set during the Napoleonic Wars, and it follows two different characters, and I'm just interested to see how it goes. I've been really into Jeanette Winterson lately, so I'm sure I'm going to love this. And I also found a used copy of Catherine M. Valente's Palimpsest, which I am so excited about because you know I love Catherine M. Valente. And like with most Valente novels, I'm just going to have to read you the blurb on this one because I know that this is going to be weird and fantastic and amazing, and her books are always really hard to describe, especially when you haven't read them. So this one says, between life and death, dreaming and waking, at the train stop beyond the end of the world is the city of Palimpsest. To get there is a miracle, a mystery, a gift, and a curse. A voyage permitted only to those who've always believed there's another world than the one that meets the eye. Those fated to make the passage are marked forever by a map of that wondrous city tattooed on their flesh after a single orgasmic night. To this kingdom of ghost trains, lion priests, living kanji, and cream-filled canals come 4 travelers. They've each lost something important, a wife, a lover, a sister, a direction in life, and what they will find in Palimpsest is more than they could ever imagine. She does it again! Even the blurbs of her books, make me feel all warm and happy inside. Alright, what do I have next? I have, well, we're talking about fantasy, A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. This is the first book in a series. I don't remember what the name of the series is, but, I mean, it might just be the Memoirs of Lady Trent. This is a kind of, from what I understand, it's about a woman who becomes fascinated with studying dragons, and it's her memoirs of her studying them and kind of bringing them back to live amongst us. Not real clear on that. Everyone's raving about this. I'm really excited about it. The covers are gorgeous. Yay! I bought Pygmalion by Bernard Shaw, which I've never read. I've been pretty into plays lately. By pretty into, I mean I've been reading one a month, which I've never done before. But this is a classic. I've never read it. That movie is based off of it, which I don't know the name of course, because I'm bad at movies. Good. I bought a thriller. This is weird. The last thriller I read was Gone Girl, and I read that in October of 2014, so almost 2 years ago. I don't read a lot of thrillers, but everyone has been talking about the Dublin Murder Squad series, and this is the first book, which is In the Woods by Tana French. I don't think I have to tell you too much about this. It's probably going to horrify me, and I'm going to cry myself to sleep every night because I don't do this thing often, but it's summertime. It sounded like a really fun kind of beach read, and I don't have much brain power for reading right now because wedding planning is sucking my soul out of my body, so that's going to be a good one, I think. Nonfiction. I have such an eclectic collection of things here. This is The Soul of an Octopus, A Surprising Exploration into the Wonder of Consciousness by Cy Montgomery. I've really had my eye on this book since it came out because it sounds so intriguing, and Cy Montgomery basically chronicles the emotional and physical world of the octopus. She kind of studies different octopi, I can never remember, one-on-one, and demonstrates how they each have very different personalities, which I'm excited about. And like I said, I've had my eye on this forever. I believe Olive from a book Olive recently read it, and she really enjoyed it. So cannot wait to see how this goes. Then I was at my bookstore last weekend, and they were having like their members only sale. And if you spent over a certain amount of money, you got a free ARC, and they were like wrapped in craft paper, so you didn't know what book you were going to get. And I ended up with The Orphan Mother, which is by Robert Hicks. So this comes out in September, and it's not really a sequel, but it's kind of has to do with his first book, from what I understand, which was called The Widow of the South. And this is about a former slave living in the South in the years after the Civil War, and her son is murdered, and her world is ripped apart, and she goes to find out why he was murdered, from what I understand. Interested in this. This is a novel written from a black woman's perspective by a white man. Never read anything written by a white man about a black woman. And so I was flipping through it, and I was kind of ready to write it off because it just doesn't look like my thing. It's historical fiction. It seems a little like, I don't know. It didn't sound like my thing. And then I was flipping through it, and I read the author's note. And he writes this really interesting note about why he feels like he can write from a black woman's perspective. And apparently when he submitted this manuscript, his editor was like, "Are you sure you want to publish something right now in the current political and cultural and social climate in the United States?" Because I believe he had submitted the manuscript like right after Ferguson. And I guess his editor kind of questioned the timing of the publication and whether or not he wanted to put himself out there as a white man writing from a black woman's perspective. And Robert Hicks writes this kind of response to that where he's like, I don't necessarily think about it as writing from a black woman's perspective. I think about writing about it from a very human perspective and a mother who has already been through terrible tragedy losing her son. And he said that if there's any time for white people to be talking about and writing about the experiences of the black community in America, it's now. So I think that could be a double-edged sword. That means that now I have really high expectations for this, and if he doesn't do it well, I'm going to be pissed. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to try it. It's not like super on my priority list, but I'm going to try it. The cover's really pretty, at least, and I respect him for addressing those issues in his author's note at the back of the book. So we'll see how it goes. So then I was in the bookstore the other day, and I was like, you know what I miss? Is in the era before Goodreads and BookTube and just like basically being surrounded by social media and on the internet all the time, is going into a bookstore and not having any idea of what you want and just picking things up randomly that you've never heard of and buying them, which I don't do anymore, and maybe I should make a whole nother video on this. But, you know, I have had this tendency now where I scan the shelves and I'm like, ooh, I've heard of that. I think I heard good things, and then I'll pull that down. But I ignore things that I haven't necessarily heard of because I feel like they're probably not going to be good because nobody's reading them, which isn't true. So it's all very silly. But I challenged myself to pick up 3 books that I had heard very little or not much at all about. And so I'm gonna show you those. The first one I have is Margaret the First. This is by Daniel Dutton. This is historical fiction about Margaret Cavendish, who's a duchess and is widely hailed as kind of the first lady novelist, which is silly, but so I've started this. I'm about 40 pages in, and it's actually quite good. Not sure how much of the historical bits are accurate or not yet. I'll research that when I'm done, but I'm enjoying the ride so far. Then I picked up The Natural Way of Things. This actually has sparked a bit of conversation on BookTube. I know Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings recently read it and hated it. I also know Simon from Savage Reads loved it. So all I've seen right now on Goodreads are a 5-star review from Simon and a 1-star review from Mercedes. So I'm really interested to read this and see where I fall on it. This won the Stella Prize, the 2016 Stella Prize, and I believe it's about women in a women's prison who kind of have to tap into their animal instincts and rise up and overcome their imprisonment, from what I understand. So it looked kick-ass. I had not watched any or heard any reviews of it when I picked it up in the bookstore. I found that out later when I was cataloging it on Goodreads, that some people have read it and apparently have very polarizing opinions. But I'm willing to give it a try because I was super intrigued by it originally. We'll see how it goes. And the last thing I got is Bluettes by Maggie Nelson. Everyone, I'm sure, is aware of Maggie Nelson's The Argonauts. I read that earlier this year. I really enjoyed it, even though I think some of it went a little bit over my head. And this is a series of kind of vignettes all about the color blue. I'm really excited about that. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be awesome. It's this tiny little thing. And Maggie Nelson's an incredible writer, and yay. So, those are the books I acquired in July. There, like I said, are quite a few of them. I am really excited about all of them. I'm not at all having one of those moments where, like, I bought some of these at the beginning of July, and now I'm like, ooh, why did I buy that? Nope, not at all. Oh, no, I forgot one. Hold the phone. I forgot this really weird one. This is called Multiple Choice. It's by Alejandro Zambra, and it is translated from the Spanish by Megan McDowell. Alejandro Zambra is a Chilean author, and as you can see from the cover, it's called Multiple Choice. It's like formatted like a little blue book, which is what caught my eye, and I'm almost done with it, and it is the weirdest thing I've ever read. Like, the whole first section is multiple choice questions, and then you do fill in the blank, and then you do sentence elimination. It's like an exam, but it tells little stories, and it really makes you think on how you associate things. Like, the whole section is word association, so he gives you a word and then 5 choices, and you're supposed to eliminate the word that does not fit or something like that. And it really has made me think about how I identify things and how I perceive things. And the last 2 sections here are kind of more like short stories, but told in a very strange format. It's really cool. It's really thought-provoking, and I'm really happy to have it. So that's actually the last thing I bought. And this is another one that I knew nothing about going into it. And I picked it up and flipped through it, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but it looks fucking weird, and I'm excited about it. So that, for real, is all the books I bought in July. Let me know if you have any thoughts on any of these, and I will be back soon. Bye, y'all.